Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of Before Coffee. It is the Friday news dump and also our women's bracket launch here for the March Madness weekend that is starting tomorrow. And I think there's also some games today, and we've already had some games for the first round for men's bracket. So maybe we can also look at those and see what we failed to predict in the sports world.
We can just, we're doing some gloating for sure.
Oh, okay.
Complaining about the gambling aspect of it. Thanks, Kentucky, for losing me money. Jerks.
All right, let's go ahead and get into our headlines. Today on Before Coffee, cannabis is becoming partially legal in Germany, and food prices are rising high due to inflation.
Friday news dump. Are these under the radar rulings actually hurting Trump? And Lev Parnas calls out Senator Ron Johnson.
Drama at the Paris Olympics. Aya Nakamura to perform an Edith Piaf songs is humiliating to the French.
And congratulations, it is National Bavarian Crepe Day. Which is, we'll have all those awesome stories, our brackets, and more on today, which is March 22nd, Friday, March 22nd on Before Coffee.
First news story coming out of Germany. Kind of both of them, really. Cannabis from Tagesschau. I'll try to pronounce that properly. Coming from Nina Amin. The federal states have cleared the way for partial legalization of cannabis. The federal council approved the controversial law. This allows consumption and, in limited quantities, possession and cultivation of the drug. Kind of very similar to how the Dutch do their cannabis laws. You're allowed to have like 3 plants or something maximum, and so the only people getting arrested for cannabis in the Netherlands are people who have their whole entire attic full of plants. And the joke is you can always tell where their houses are because in the winter they don't have any snow on their roofs. Of course, nobody had snow this winter, so I guess it'll be harder to find those illegal cannabis growers now. Despite criticism, the law for the partial legalization of cannabis passed the federal council. This means that it can come into force as planned on April 1st, which is a hilarious date to choose to legalize cannabis. Hey, it's legal! April Fools! There was no majority for an appeal to the mediation committee. The mediation process between the federal and state governments would have delayed the law's entry into force. The Traffic Light Coalition wants to use the law to initiate a change in drug policy. Until recently, there were numerous concerns from the federal states. They must implement the new rules, monitor compliance, and implement an amnesty for cannabis offenses that are no longer punishable under the new law. There are warnings from union-led countries. Before the vote, federal health, or I think counties, Minister Karl Lauterbach promoted to the law, which was an opportunity to protect the younger generation in particular from consumption and the black market through decriminalization and better education. Speakers from several countries, however, warned against legalization. Bavaria's Health Minister Judith Gerlich called the law an aberration. No, Bavaria, but what? Those creeps. It also represents the state with massive additional administrative and enforcement cost. Saxony's Prime Minister Michael Kretschmer said the law could not be about party politics. The question is so central and so personal that it was clear to me that I would not agree to the legalization of drugs under any circumstances, even if it caused trouble in my Saxon coalition. Okay, so I'm guessing in Saxony, alcohol's illegal, right? The most deadly drug of all time, killing millions, probably every year, due to drunk driving and other DUI-related things. No? It's still legal in Germany to drink beer? Okay. I'm not going to make drugs illegal in any circumstances, he says. Consumption and possession permitted under certain conditions. In the future, adults aged 18 and over will be allowed to carry up to 25 grams of cannabis for their own consumption and store up to 50 grams at home. So you can carry 25 around, and you can have 50 for a total of, I guess, 75. 3 plants are allowed for home cultivation. From July onwards, so-called cannabis clubs will be allowed to grow and purchase the drug on a limited basis. Public consumption is permitted on a limited basis. It is not permitted within the sight of children, youth facilities, or sports facilities. Consumption is permitted in pedestrian zones from 8 p.m. Cannabis remains prohibited for minors. Okay, so I'm sure they're also not allowing people to smoke in public in front of children as well, right? Can't get those people addicted to cigarettes, another legal drug that affects society, but hey, I'm whatever about doing drugs. I think it's a personal choice. But this idea that cannabis is the evil, what is it, the devil's lettuce, you know? Oh, don't let anyone see it! It's like, okay, don't let anyone see any of the drugs. Don't drink in front of kids. Don't smoke in front of kids. Don't, I don't know, take your depression meds in front of kids, okay? Think about the children. They might see you doing drugs and want to do them too.
That?
The poor stupid things.
Right. Get that guy hacking up a lung. I want to do that.
Yeah. Everyone loves to hear their family members hack up a lung.
Everybody loves the pot cough. Oh, it's so wonderful.
In relation to the legalization of cannabis, food prices are going to go up. Not really. This is not related whatsoever. But because of the inflation we're talking about, everyone keeps on going in and out of, oh, well, inflation's fine, and then inflation, we're going to die. And then the next day, it's like inflation is great. Everyone's doing great. And then the next day, they're like, the world's going to burn because the numbers. And so I'm kind of getting whiplash with this inflation stuff. But according to the European Central Bank, and this is coming out of, what was the name of this website I'm using? Oh, Australian news from AP, I think, in consideration with AP. The European Central Bank has found that a new study shows environment, temperatures, climbing will affect food and overall inflation. Makes sense. If you can't grow any food, it's gonna get supply and demanded up the ass. Looking at monthly price tags of food and other goods, temperature and other climate factors in 121 nations since 1996, researchers calculate that weather and climate shocks will cause cost food to rise. The rise would be 1.5 to 1.8 percentage points annually with a decade or so, and even higher in already hot places like the Middle East, according to a study released on Thursday in the journal Communications, Earth and Environment. This is really tragic when you think about it, that a lot of countries in the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, have become very, very rich over oil. The thing that, not the only thing, but one of the things that have attributed to the total climate breakdown of the planet. And soon they won't have the ability to grow any food because they will be in 100 plus temperatures. So, is it karma? I don't know. But I'm sure it's not going to be the rich people who are going to die first in these climate disasters. It's going to be all those poor people, like famously, I think the United Emirates have a lot of Indian immigrants and migrant workers, and they are not treated very nicely. So I'm sure it's going to be hard for them when this climate crisis really heats up. And that translates to an increased overall inflation of 0.8 to 0.9 by 2035, just caused by climate change alone, not any other fluctuations in the economy. Those numbers may look small, but the banks like the US Federal Reserve that fight inflation, they are significant. Anything near 1% is significant, said study leader Matt Kultz, a climate scientist at Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research in Germany. The physical impacts of climate change are going to have a persistent effect on inflation, Dr. Kultz said. This really is, from my perspective, another example of one of the ways in which climate change can undermine human welfare and economic welfare. And by 2060, the climate-triggered part of inflation should grow, with global food prices predicted to increase to 2.2 to 4.3 annually. That's a lot. Every year after 2060, it could increase by 2 percentage points. I think they're saying permanently. Like, climate change will permanently influence inflation, and they'll have to be fighting it actively because it will just passively happen. But this is, of course, we've talked about this before. Economists like to predict things and then completely get it wrong. Jeannot Wagner, a climate economist at Columbia University's Business School, who wasn't part of the research, so this is just his opinion with no actual research into it other than reading the actual study, I'm guessing, calls it climateflation. It's all too real and the numbers are rather striking. Dr. Coates, an European bank economist, looked at 20,000 data points to find a real-world casual, I always say casual because they look similar, causal link between extreme weather, especially heat, and rising prices. They then looked at what's projected in the future for climate change and saw sticker shock. Mr. Coates said the analysis found inflationary pressure on food and other prices in worse areas in the seasons that are hotter. Usually when economists talk inflation and climate change, it's about rising energy prices in response to efforts to curb warming. That's only part of the problem, Dr. Coates said. There are these productivity shocks that we know about the climate change, from the weather phenomena caused by climate change, from heat waves and so forth, to reduce agricultural productivity. Those also have a knock-on effect on food inflation and headline inflation. The study points to 2022's European heat wave as a good example. High heat cut food supplies, causing food prices to 2/3 of a percentage point, and overall inflation to jump about 1/3 percentage points, Dr. Coates said. Prices rose even higher in Romania, Hungary, and parts of southern Europe. Yes, I do remember that. We also couldn't find jalapenos for the longest time. Maybe they all died in the heat wave. It was really hard to make some good guacamole because there's no jalapenos. I had to use other peppers, and it's just not the same. I know. Very small complaint towards people probably starving to death in Italy because they have no food, and I'm like, oh, I don't have a jalapeno. I find the main result of the historic relationship between regional temperatures and anomalies and national inflation to be credible, says Francis Moore, an environmental economist at University of California. I should have said it like a Californian. I found the main result of the historic relationship between regional temperatures, man. Anomalies and national inflation to be credible. Man, dude, this sucks. Nah, I'm just kidding. That was a terrible Californian accent. It went Texan. The findings are important price variable in essential goods like food is very painful to consumers. Dr. Coates said analysis found inflationary pressure to be worse in hotter seasons. So Europe and North America may not be hit as hard as the global south, which could afford it less, he said. So there's your news. Panic, panic, panic in the streets. As usual, economists want more. In some cases, I always feel there might be a conspiracy going on where the economists are telling you, watch out, you're going to run out of food soon. And they want us to invest so that they make more money now. I have no idea why economists are. I guess it's the inflation. They're just like, inflation is my favorite subject, and they just love talking about it all the time, about the number going up and down. But there's your news coming out of Europe and Germany. Everyone's gonna get high, but then they'll have the munchies and no food to snack on.
Yeah,
your story.
Economists aren't exactly a monolithic group with one overriding.
Are you sure? They're not all after us to ruin our lives?
No.
That sucks.
They all have different variety of opinions, and you ask 10 of them the forecast, and most of them will hedge. Right? Don't give you a real forecast because they don't want to be wrong. So yeah, I would say. And political news in the United States, we have an article from the Daily Beast where I did narrowly avoiding had to subscribe, but they did send me an email to this article, email link to it, and I was like, hey, I'll be clicking on this article, and it's called These Under the Radar Rulings in the Stormy Daniels case, Hush Money case, are really bad for Trump by Ray Besprecia of the Daily Beast. He's always told it's row. He's doing Scooby-Doo, I guess. Revelations that the Department of Justice recently disclosed a vast trove of documents to Donald Trump's defense team in the Stormy Daniels hush money prosecution in the New York made headlines because the long-awaited trial is delayed at least several weeks. This delay dismayed many who want to see the former president face some kind of legal accountability for his actions that took place before, during, and after his presidency. Other developments of the case have not garnered as much attention, but likely have more sweeping ramifications for the case, which still probably start sometime before the end of April. What's more, Trump's team have yet to contend with a host of very adverse rulings as the trial unfolds in the courtroom, and both should give Trump and his lawyers great pause. Earlier this week, a judge presiding over the case, New York Supreme Court Justice Juan M. Merchant, made two significant rulings. The first of these decisions allows a number of witnesses to testify in the case, including Trump's former fixer Michael Cohen, former American media CEO David Pecker, Dina Sanjudin, a former Trump Tower doorman, and Karen McDougal, the other individual who is alleged to have received similar payments to Daniels, also to cover up an alleged affair with the former president. Their testimony will cover whether the alleged actions related to Stormy Daniels were part of a larger scheme to hide just these sorts of hush money payments. But it is the second ruling that might even be more consequential. Justice Merchant swatted back on one of defendant Trump's team main defenses. There has been a lot of speculation that the former president might claim that he acted as an advice of counsel, and thus the prosecution could not establish that Trump had appropriate culpable intent. Based on that defense, the argument would go he believes that his actions were legal because someone who should know better, his lawyer, told him so. Now, normally, a defendant might be able to argue that they were acting in the advice of counsel, and because of that, the prosecution could not establish that the defendant had the requisite culpable state of mind when they engaged in the allegedly illegal act. Again, normally, this can serve as a valuable defense. A lawyer is allowed, what even expected, to counsel a client about what it would take to comply with the law and the consequences of breaking law. If a client reasonably relied on good faith advice of counsel on how to comply with the law, this client might try to evade the criminal liability for precisely that reason. At the same time, a lawyer cannot provide advice to the client as how to break the law and how to get away with it. Such communications would not be protected from attorney-client privilege because of what is known as the crime fraud exemption. No attorney-client privilege attaches any communications that are in furtherance of crime or fraud. What that means is that the communications allegedly in furtherance of the crime or fraud could come into evidence. The Trump team, and likely Trump himself, is fully aware of the conundrum because lawyers like John C. Eastman, who had a hand in the events of January 6th, have had to turn over otherwise privileged communications after a federal judge in California found that these communications were more likely than not in furtherance of a crime. The problem with raising evidence of counsel defense the problem with raising the advice of counsel defense has less to do with the crime and fraud exception. However, although its practical effect is very similar. If Trump were to raise that defense, the advice he may have received would have had come into evidence. In other words, information that would normally be protected by currently client privilege would lose its evidentiary seal. Instead, Trump's team tried a different approach. They want to get all the benefits of the defense without actually raising the defense and waiving attorney-client privilege. In other words, they wanted to have their proverbial cake and eat it too. The lawyers agreed that because there was a lawyer in the room, or as they phrased it, there was a presence of counsel during certain conversations about how to handle the Stormy Daniels matter, Trump could argue that he should be allowed to say that the guidance he received in the room where it happened should absolve him from culpability with that lawyer in the room. The advice just had to be legal. Well, Justice Meacham didn't buy it. Refusing to endorse the Trump team's tactic, he found that to allow said defense in this matter would effectively permit defendant to invoke the defense he has declared he will not rely on, that is, the formal defense of counsel, without the concomitant obligations that come with it. He continued that such a result would undoubtedly confuse and mislead the jury, and the court would not endorse such a tactic. So these rulings are eventually going to find its way into the evidentiary trial. Of course, this is one of the 4 criminal trials that defendant J. Trump is currently facing, and One of the other things he was up for, way back in 2019, I guess it was, when he was being impeached for being a Russian agent. We met our little guy named Lev Parnas, who was being manipulated to help Russia, basically. And this is a short story from Yahoo News. Former Giuliani associate names in shocking video that Fox News won't air. Yes, this is from Yahoo.com. Former Rudy Giuliani associate Lev Parnas made startling accusations during a House Oversight Committee impeachment inquiry hearing on Wednesday, but don't expect to see it on Fox News. Parnas, who helped Donald Trump by attempting to pressure Ukraine and investigating Joe Biden, told the committee that various GOP politicians, a member of the conservative media, purposely spread disinformation about the current president. And he named names, including Fox News host Sean Hannity and Rep. Pete Sessions, who Parnas pointed out is a member of the House Oversight Committee, actually sitting in the room. It all started when Representative Jamie Raskin, Democrat of Maryland, asked Parnas about when the campaign to dig up dirt on Biden became a campaign to spread disinformation and lies about Biden. Parnas said after the Biden investigation turned up nothing substantial at all, Giuliani and journalist John Solomon, who's responsible for pushing many Ukraine conspiracy theories, started trying to push narratives that were, and they were not validated. Basically, a letter would come over from somebody in Ukraine, and I'd hand it over to John Solomon. Next thing you know, he was on Fox News 2 hours later with Sean Hannity. Parnas said Giuliani then began working with Russian agents and Russian assets to spread anti-Biden propaganda and disinformation around June of 2019. He also testified that Giuliani was absolutely aware that those Russian sources were working on behalf of Russian leader Vladimir Putin. He also said Giuliani had no problem with spreading lies as long as it fit the narrative. But pushing falsehoods could be a challenge, as many of the media outlets were skeptical of the allegations, except for Fox and a few other right-wing media groups, and didn't want to take any of the information. Parnas said the willingness of many media outlets just to spread disinformation without question aggravated Giuliani, Solomon, and others. Where was I? And the main group that was being pushed, through was Fox, Parnas said, adding that was mainly Sean Hannity and some other media personalities over there. Parnas also named others. There were also other people that were doing the bidding of the Russians, people in Congress, like Senator Ron Johnson, like Congressman Pete Sessions, who sits right here now. That was with me from the very beginning of this journey into digging dirt on Joe Biden, he said. You can see the exchange between Parnas and Raskins in our finish, since there's little chance you'll see it on Fox News. In fact, Fox News cut away from the hearing during his testimony.
Wow.
HuffPost reached out to Sessions for comment, but he did not immediately respond. This is this article from the Huffington Post, apparently, but it's reposted in Yahoo. However, many people on X, formerly Twitter, were shocked when Parnas' testimony says it suggested that the Republican members of the House Oversight Committee are well aware that their investigation into Biden is based on false premise, and yet they're doing it anyway. Oh, yeah.
Lovely.
Guy sitting right in the room knows it's bullshit, but just, yeah. We're just going to
we're wasting time. We could be doing something useful, but I want to get paid for wasting everyone's time.
Just a clue. This is taxpayers' money being wasted.
Yeah.
For a fishing expedition that was never anything but a lie to begin with. So back to you. Oh, by the way, you might want to tally up your wins.
So I can brag? What?
Yeah, from last night. Hey, I was 12-4, so I can brag too.
All right, I'll tally up my wins when we're doing it, because
It won't take that long.
It won't take that long. When you're doing your this day in history. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
For our culture segment, we are going to talk about the Paris Olympics and who is performing there. Not French enough. Aya Nakamura's rumored Olympic show prompts far-right backlash. This is coming from Katie Dartford on Euronews Culture. Aya Nakamura has not yet been confirmed to sing at the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games, but reports that French President Emmanuel Macron has sounded her out to headline the event has sparked a racism row in the country. The possibility that the French Malian pop singer might perform for the repertoire of national treasure Edith Piaf has caused indignation among some far-right supporters. Wait, far-right people are racist? No, this is a mistake. Nakamura is the most listened to French artist in the world, and the only woman to feature in the country's top 20 best-selling albums of 2023. But the Olympic speculation has made her the target of what the organizers' committee of the Paris Games had described as shockingly racist campaign. I can't believe people are still surprised by this. Have we cured anti-blackness in the world? Here's a fun fact for everyone out there. The world is built on being anti-black. Whether or not you are, it doesn't matter, okay? The system we live in is anti-black, okay? Examples are when the black stormtrooper happened. Everyone was pissed because there was a black stormtrooper. Why? Because he was black. That's it. When people said Idris Elba could be James Bond, everyone was pissed. Why? Because they don't think he's a good actor? No, it was because he was black, right? This is how the world works, and it's shockingly not shocking for me. People should be not saying people shouldn't put black people up or African people up for positions because they fear the outrage, but they shouldn't be shocked when the outrage comes. That's all I'm saying. Don't be shocked when people are outraged. The far-right leader Marine Le Pen called her presence not a beautiful symbol and an additional provocation from Emmanuel Macron. He's attacking me. Le Pen, she's literally the most famous female French pop singer, and it's like, how dare you? Le Pen told France Inter on Wednesday that Macron must get up every morning, find one idea a day to humiliate and outrage the French. He also criticized Nakamura for not singing in French and said she did not represent France. I'm not even going to tell you about the entourage. I'm going to talk to you about her outfit, her vulgarity, the fact that she doesn't sing French. She doesn't sing foreign either. She sings we don't know what. Okay, so you're just too racist even listen to find out. Great. Marine Le Pen is not alone in targeting Nakamura. Surprise. She's also been the victim of a fierce online hate campaign. Okay, at a campaign rally earlier this month for the Reconquête Party, led by far-right former presidential candidate Eric Zemmour, Nakamura's name drew boos from the crowd. A small extremist group calling themselves Les Natifs, the natives, also held up a banner on the banks of the Seine denouncing the singer's Malian origins. She didn't ask to be Malian, dude. I hate people. As a biracial person myself. Hey, I hate your people. My people. I belong to two people here. And neither of them want me, by the way. Being biracial sucks ass. Can confirm. So the fact, like, how dare you be Malian? You should have chose your parents better. I'll do it next time, guys. Sorry. My bad. Anyways, there's no way, Aya. This is Paris, not a Bamako market, the banner read. Okay. More racism. Surprise. According to one poll, 73% of French people think that Nakamura does not represent French music, while 63% oppose the idea of her headlining the opening ceremony. That is a large percent. Of course, this one poll, which I will click the link to see where the poll came from, is, I don't know, was it just an internet poll? I guess it was just an internet poll. So you entered the survey yourselves, and I'm sure it was completely and evenly distributed and, wasn't totally ransacked by a bunch of far-right thinkers, just like, everyone, say how much you hate her on this poll. Nakamura was defended by the Minister of Sports and Olympic Games, Amelia Odea Castera, and Manshida Dati, the Minister of Culture. No matter how much we love you, dear Aya Nakamura, don't care about the whole world, wrote Amelia Ado Castera on Twitter. You know what's really funny about this is the Olympics is supposed to bring all the countries together to compete in sports. it's supposed to be a global peacekeeping phenomena. And instead, people are going, you're not French enough. Hello, this isn't the French Olympics, it's the World Olympics, international. Who gives a shit? Anyways, I think that's it. I don't know. Wait, no, here we go. There's more. Date warned the activist that attacking someone out of pure racism, attacking an artist for who she is unacceptable. It's a crime. In response, Nakamura wrote, "You can be racist, but not deaf. That's what hurts you. I'm becoming a #1 state subject in debates. But what do I really owe you?" Yeah, you tell him. In response to public debate about the unorthodox way she uses the French language, a mixture of French with slang, English and other languages brought to France through immigration, Nakamura told AFP, "I can understand why some people say, 'Who does she think she is?' Mocking us in our French language. But it's important to accept the culture of others. And me, I have 2 cultures." For Caroline Bonnet of the cultural magazine Les Inrocuputables, like in Les Miserables, Les Inrocuputables, the reaction of far right has made it more important that Nakamura perform at the Olympics. Aya Nakamura invented this language, which is fantastic. His language is always evolving. That's what's weird about French, and I think there's other countries who do this too, but French is famous for it, right? You can speak French to them, but if you don't speak it perfectly, they'd ignore you. They're language supremacists, almost, a lot of people. I think it's mostly in Paris. But, and it's not, that's not how language works. Language isn't always changing, even if you want to keep it as pure as possible. But they do have the sturgeon. I think they have one of the most hardest, like, they make these things called, like, language schools, or I can't remember what it's called right now. But it's a institution that makes sure that language stays the language, which is so counterintuitive to how language works. There's people out there in France who determine these are the rules of French. If you break these, you're not speaking real French. The end, right? Just some people in a room somewhere deciding.
I'm that way about English.
Yeah. So. But for me, that's crazy because language evolves and the meaning of words evolve. So it's not. People just don't like change. People just don't like change.
I'm a big pain in the ass about people using language wrong. So
yeah.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty when people say, "For all intensive purposes," I'm like, that's not the saying. It's for all intents and purposes. Intensive purposes. What the hell's an intensive purpose? Anyway.
Aya Nakamura invented the language, which is fantastic. She has crazy hits. France should be proud to have an artist like her, known internationally, Bonnet told AFP. It's a controversy that comes from the backward side of France, but it's not they who will decide. I hope she will sing at the Olympics. It has been imperative, she added. Meanwhile, a recent YouGov poll found that more French people would prefer DJ and producer David Guetta or Daft Punk to perform the Olympics opening ceremony than Nakamura, that despite most of their lyrics being recorded in English. So you say it's not about the language, huh? We all know what it's about, okay? I'll say it here. They're just anti-black. That's it. That's what it's about. You don't look like a French person, says the people who conquered like half of Africa. Shut the fuck up. Anyways, I have no room for anti-blackness in my life. I love black
for
people.
Shizzle.
They deserve the world. They've done most of the work in the world, and we will on to this day in history, or whatever you want to say. Sorry, I know you wanted to speak.
I was gonna say for shizzle on that frizzle.
Reminder: one of your best friends is a black man. So.
Okay. The next story, or are we on?
Yeah. This day in history.
I was about to do my brackets. Oh yeah, this day in history.
We could do the brackets first and then do the this day in history last. I don't know which one you.
Oh no, you gotta count up your wins first. Remember?
Oh yeah, you're right.
This day in history.
Thanks for reminding me.
Because we did culture. Yeah. Count up your wins. I only won one again in the women's thing, so those play-in tournaments are terrible for me. I was 1-3 in both of them. Ugh. This day in history, 1599, Anthony van Dyck, the most prominent Flemish-British painter of the 17th century after Peter Paul Rubens, was born in Antwerp. In 1622, Apenchakanau, brother of Chief Powhatan and his successor and the leader of the Powhatan Indian Empire, led an attack on Jamestown Colony, killing at least 347 colonists, initiating the Powhatan War. Of course, didn't see that in the Pocahontas movie. 1638, Annie Hutchinson was banished from the Massachusetts Bay Colony after liberal religious beliefs ran afoul of officials. She later helped found Rhode Island. So they actually called her a witch and banished her. They didn't burn all the witches. These are people left over from the Mayflower and those associated in the 1630 migration around that time. 1820, U.S. Commissioner Stephen Decatur was killed in a duel. U.S. Navy Commissioner Stephen Decatur was killed in a duel. They did those things in 1820 still. In 1832, German author and philosopher Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, who was considered the greatest German literary figure in the modern era, died in Weimar, Saxe-Weimar. In 1894, the Montreal Athletic Association won ice hockey's first Stanley Cup. And I wonder if it's the original one. Probably not. 1908, American author Louis L'Amour, who is best known for highly popular westerns and offered well-researched portrayals of frontier life, was born. In 1829, Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama, who achieved success as a self-described obsessional artist known for extensive use of polka dots and for her infinity mirror rooms, was born. In 1934, the Augusta National Golf Club hosted the first Masters tournament in Augusta, Georgia. In 1945, the Arab League, a regional organization of Arab states in the Middle East, was organized by Cairo by Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Transjordan, which is now known as Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen. The Arab League. 1948, English composer Andrew Lloyd Webber was born. He wrote, of course, Evita, Jesus Christ Superstar, and Phantom of the Opera.
Yep.
Among a host of others.
And Cats, famously.
Right. And famously, like 12 or 50 other Broadway plays.
Yeah.
Andrew Lloyd Webber, Broadway composer. 1972, the U.S. Senate approved the Equal Rights Amendment, which stated, equal rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex, but it failed to be ratified by the requisite majority of 38 states before the deadline. The deadline which not necessarily exists, so I think it can still be passed. In 2004, an Israeli missile strike killed Palestinian Islamic leader Sheikh Ahmad Yassin, co-founder of the militant Palestinian organization Hamas. 2019, Special Counsel Robert Mueller delivered his report on Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election to the Attorney General William Barr. It stated that while this report does not conclude that defendant Trump committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. In other words, they covered it up in a nice little freaking tidy thing. You could have impeached him, could have got rid of him a long time ago, but they decided, no, this is good for us. It isn't good for us, man. It is not good for us. Not at all. Anyway, our time capsule from Britannica Book of the Year. In March 22nd, 1992, the first national election since February 1991 military coup that toppled the democratically elected government of Thailand, candidates of 4 political parties supporting the junta won 191 of the 360 seats in the lower house and National Assembly. That same day of the junta, which called itself the National Peacekeeping Council, filled all 270 seats of the upper house of parliament with its appointees. More than half of that number were military or police officers. Thailand's deeply rooted practice of vote buying received the jolt in Bangkok, the capital, when the Kalang Dharma, led by Mr. Clean, Chamlong Shrimwang, won 41 seats.
Don't choke on your tongue there.
In the lower house after campaigning on a platform of honest government. That's what happened. Sorry. Our featured event is the Stamp Act was passed. On this day in 1765, the British Parliament passed the Stamp Act, which places taxes on various printed papers in colonies. Highly unpopular, the legislation was particularly contentious in America. And our birthdays today featured biographies. Reese Witherspoon, who was born on March 22nd, 1976, and once again, Britannica does not know what year it is. They have her age 47, of course. If you can do simple math, you know she's 48. And she was born in New Orleans, Louisiana. And it also says her birthday is tomorrow, which is not tomorrow, it is today, March 22nd. So they think, Britannica thinks today is March 21st, 2023, apparently. So,
it's probably just the website engineer didn't put the right things in. It's not working properly.
Update these things automatically when the date rolls over. Wouldn't that just be easier? This is left over from last year.
It's just something in the programming they messed up.
It's lazy editing. Other birthdays today: Stephen Sondheim, American composer and lyricist, turns 94. William Shatner's birthday today. Captain Kirk. How old do you think William Shatner is? Just roughly. 80s, 70s? William Shatner is 93 today. 93. James Patterson, American... He's still on TV doing stuff. James Patterson, American author, is born in 1947. Andrew Lloyd Webber we covered, and Reese Witherspoon we already covered. And besides being National Bavarian Crepes Day, it is National Goof Off Day, which to me I just roll out of bed in this National Goof Off Day. And it's also National West Virginia Day, and I think they're playing in a tournament. So West Virginia better win today. It's West Virginia Day. Back to you and our tournament brackets.
Okay, tournament bracket ready. I've tallied up my current wins, I guess, for the men's tournament. I
have my scoreboard here.
There's been 8 games already? Yeah. You have your little scoreboard.
There were 16 games. I
have one too. Here, mine's bigger than yours, though.
16 games last night.
Brag. My whiteboard is bigger than yours.
Yeah. You got a tally board, dude?
Yeah, look.
You had to leave the room? You had to get a crane? Get the crane operator,
really
wake him up.
Mine's this big.
Okay. Oh, I have one of those too, but it's just
I
can't see it. The whiteboard is
originally it was taped to my door, but the sticky tape,
green screen. It's being
weird. Oh, here, let me
obscured by the green screen on my deal. So anyway, there's mine, and there were 16 games, so you need to count 8 more if you only counted 8.
Okay, there. But I need to erase this. Oh, God, it's stuck on.
Are we going to do it this way now?
It's been on there so long, it's actually painted on.
Oh boy, yeah, you probably didn't use erasable marker then.
No, I did. It's just been on. It's been in a corner. Since it fell off my door, I haven't been using it. So I have.
Okay, so you don't have to do the board thing. I've already got one.
Yeah, but I want one. I want a board.
Hey, I've already put the numbers on there. You're going to be sitting there going, dup, 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 dup. Anyway, am I on camera or are you? Who's on camera right now?
I'm on camera right now, showing my huge board. Here, show everyone your board.
How many games did you win last night? Did you tally them up?
I've won 9 out of 7. Or sorry, 9 to 7. I've won 9.
You only won 9 out of yesterday's games? Wow. I thought you did better.
Wasn't there 16 games? Did I count wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course there were 16. I'm just saying that just seems low. I thought you did better. I won 12.
I didn't win any of the Western conferences or the Western regions at all. 0. I got none of those right.
I was 12-4. How'd you do in the playing games? The women's playing games.
Have they played games?
The women played 4 games last night. 2 games last night. They played 2 games
I didn't
the
see
night
that
before.
on my
They got
board.
4
I
playing
didn't see that on the...
Okay, the play-in games went like this. I gotta go look in the scores now.
I only see the first 4.
You're gonna make me look. Anyway, I only won 1 of the women's play-in games, so I have won. So I'm 1-3, and I think we'd have to go back and.
There's something on the 21st. There's games on the 21st.
There was 2 games in the women's play-in on Wednesday night, and there was 2 games last night.
Yeah, the first 4. You mean?
Yeah.
I talked about that yesterday. Even.
How many of those did you? No, those were the men's games.
I already know. I'm saying I already.
There was 2 women's games last night, so we didn't already.
You don't have to keep explaining it. I'm about to tell you. I won 2.
Okay, so you're 2. Okay, so you have a total of 14 points, and I have a total of 14 points. So we're even. I won 1 and 1.
I should just draw the whole bracket on my huge freaking.
I'm just tabulating points. And remember, second round, the second round, the round of 32, the points are worth 2. Our games are worth 2 points.
Oh, are we actually tallying points like that? Okay.
Yeah, because the second games mean more. Because you've had a team not only win 1 game, now they're winning,
Well, I did write down which teams I picked correctly. Oh, my green screen's all messed up now because
I'll keep track here. Also
for the men's games that were yesterday, the teams that I picked correctly were NC State, Oakland, Gonzaga, Oregon, Creighton, Tennessee, Michigan, Dayton, and Arizona. And for the women's first 4, my correct teams are Presbyterian and Vanderbilt. So
I only got Presbyterian right. I only got them right out of that whole.
So right now I'm 14-10. I'm 14-10, including the first 4.
We're not counting losses.
I got 3
wins.
in the first 4 for the men's tournament.
Right. Well, we're only counting wins for their totals, so we can just tabulate.
I don't know. It's just fun to say.
14.
It's just fun to say 14-10. I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm 14-10 too, but a different way because I went 12-4 in a men's game yesterday.
Are we telling also the women's and the men's together, or only them separate?
We're gonna tally the whole thing together.
Okay. And so we add 2
do them
points
separate
for
too.
the second round.
You see, I have columns. See right here, I have columns. One for M,
I see.
One for W, one M, W, right? A and R. It's all.
Oh, that's an R. I thought it was a B.
That's a 60. That's a 64 there too. That's around a 64. That's what we're in right now. So there's only 1 point in the round of 64, 2 points in the round of 32, 3 in the Sweet 16, so forth. Okay. So let's do the women's games.
Yes.
I've already filled up my entire bracket, so
Me
I'll have
too.
to go with because I had to enter the contest to save my bracket.
Okay.
Once you cannot go and do an interactive bracket after the games have already started, so I've got like 2 hours before you can't even do that anymore.
Okay.
So I did the whole thing. All right, so we're going to start with South Carolina versus Presbyterian.
Yeah, it's called Albany 1. That's the region it's called, Albany 1. And I chose Presbyterian as the winner for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
South Carolina has not lost a game this season.
Hey.
Go ahead.
I got right with Oakland. You never know.
You do. I don't think this game will be within 40 points. But
I believe in Jesus Christ, our Savior. I guess.
maybe the team bus will get a flat on the way to the game. Maybe that'll happen.
I'm not religious,
That's the only way.
Jesus, take the wheel.
I'm already making fun of your picks.
And for the next team up is I was for the North Carolina and Michigan. I chose Michigan for that as well.
Michigan
Carolina.
State. Michigan State. Let's not anger all our Spartan fans by calling them Michigan.
Well, they're in Michigan. I'm sorry, they didn't know that.
Yeah, that's not what they're called. I'm correcting you left and right. Sorry. I've got South Carolina.
You're all the Carolinas.
Totally the Gamecocks. Go Cox. I always want to show up at a South Carolina women's game and just go Cox, go Cox.
Yeah,
I'm sure they're yelling it.
Okay, yeah.
That's what everybody's yelling. I'm sorry.
Everyone's 12.
They do it. They're college students. They're all 12. And I've got North Carolina beating Michigan State, setting up the South Kakalaki-North Kakalaki roundup matchup.
Okay, then for the next team up is Oklahoma and FGCU, which you're going to tell me what that stands for.
Florida Gulf Coast.
And I chose Oklahoma.
And I got Oklahoma beating them all. Oh, no, I've got Florida Gulf Coast winning that one in a 12-5 upset because I'm going to pick 12-5s in a women's tournament. Try to get a trend going there.
Okay.
Not that I have any influence. And I've got Indiana beating Fairfield, which is a hotel.
I chose Fairfield because it's a hotel. So I'm expecting... They work hard at those hotels. They're really good at doing this, so I'm sure that translates really well to basketball.
The continental breakfast.
Oh, we should also say who we think are going to win the second round,
I got
right?
South Carolina. I got South Carolina basically winning the whole thing.
I'm following Presbyterian straight through because I believe. And for
I got South Carolina and Indiana.
And for the second round, I have Oklahoma winning against Fairfield.
Okay, so you got Oklahoma and... You have Oklahoma, and wow, our brackets are going to be so different.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's women's sports, and those are always all over the place. They're a little...
No,
really?
No,
okay.
No,
okay.
No, it's chalk.
Well, different team every year, just like everyone else.
No. Look at the winners.
Okay.
It was Tennessee dominated, Connecticut dominated, now South Carolina's dominated. Didn't win last year because LSU upset them, but anyway... Women's has been pretty chalk for a long time. Anyway, Nebraska, Texas A&M is the next one, right?
Yep. I have Texas A&M for that. I'm just going all opposite of chalk, anti-chalk, this whole thing.
I got Nebraska, and I got Eastern Washington, so I had a 14-3 upset. How do you like that one?
Yeah, for the Oregon State Eastern Washington, I also chose Eastern Washington because I didn't even know there was an Eastern Washington because I thought it was in the West. So I was. That's a good
There's
joke.
an eastern part of Washington.
Yeah, I understand. It's a joke. It's
beautiful country.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah. The next team up is Ole Miss, Marquette, and I chose Marquette. And then Notre Dame and Kentucky State, I think that means Kent State, sorry.
Kent State, which is the famous
Kent
shooting.
State. Yes.
Shooting, yes, in Ohio.
I chose Notre Dame for that one, so.
Okay, well, I've got Nebraska beating Eastern Washington and advancing to the final Sweet 16, where they will play Marquette because Marquette's going to beat Ole Miss, and they're going to play Notre Dame, or as you say it, Notre Dame, as they say in the United States, Notre Dame, as Marquette will play Notre Dame in the Jesuit Bowl.
The Jesuit Bowl, yeah, well, we both got that down.
Marquette will play Nebraska.
I'm saying Notre Dame will fight Eastern Washington. Fight them in the field.
Marquette and Notre Dame, they used to play 3 times a year, I think.
Really?
So close.
Oh, so they know each other well.
Well, South Bend and Milwaukee aren't that far apart, and they're both Jesuits, so.
Makes sense.
The Big Eastern Conference is full of Jesuit schools.
Okay, let's go over to Albany 2 with Iowa and HCUTM. I went with HCUTM because I don't know what that means.
Wow. You really don't want to win anything.
No, I don't care about winning. I have no stakes in this whatsoever.
National Player of the Year in Iowa, and you want her just eliminated in the first round.
Yeah.
Get out of here, National Player of the Year. By the way, she's already doing State Farm commercials.
She's had her time. It's time to go to the big leagues.
She's had her time. She's had her time. She lost the championship last year.
I'm just
I got
purely
Iowa,
choosing this
obviously.
after color, and I
Since
know
I'm
nothing about
ridiculing
these
your
teams.
I'm ridiculing your picks, so you know I'm taking Iowa because your pick is absurd. Right, next one.
I'm picking my picks purely off of aesthetics. Oh, I like it's purple. They end.
Those little numbers mean something there.
No, they don't. I don't even see them because they're on a lower. They're more translucent to the rest of the paper. So
go ahead.
They didn't print on my piece of paper that I printed. Don't even see the numbers. And then I have West Virginia, Princeton, with Princeton winning, and then HC, UTM, and Princeton. I'm going with the purple team. HC, UTM. What does HC, UTM even stand for? They're gonna win. Totally. Sweep the entire bracket.
What does what stand for?
HCUTM. Hardcore.
Holy Cross.
Holy Cross?
Those are two different schools, and they're hyphenated, right? There's a slash between them. One is Holy Cross, and the other one is
it's putting Holy Cross and UT Martin. Okay. I don't know why I didn't update the bracket. Sorry. Then I put Holy Cross winning. Yeah.
You picked the two teams beating Iowa.
Yeah. They're gonna. If they beat Iowa, they can beat everyone. That's what I say.
This game will be over at halftime. Oh boy, you're making me sad here. All right.
Not important.
I got Princeton beating West Virginia and Iowa just trouncing Princeton. And I've also got Drake, who let me down in the men's bracket yesterday, beating Colorado. And I'm sorry, I've got Drake, a number at 12-5, another 12-5, I'm picking a 12. And I've got Kansas State beating Portland and advancing to Iowa in the Sweet 16.
Okay, I have Drake also winning against Colorado, and Portland winning against Kansas, and then Portland beating Drake.
Kansas State, very important to say that. They're not Kansas. They're not the Jayhawks. They're the Kansas State Wildcats.
Wildcats.
One of the most
unimaginative We're all in this
together.
Sports. Okay.
Wildcats all over the place.
So my Sweet 16 match is going to be Portland and Drake.
You can smell it from here. Go ahead. Next one there. Yes.
Oh, okay. Next one is Louisville and Middle Tennessee. And I chose Louisville because I do remember Louisville, you going for Louisville in one of these last year. I can't remember which one, but you're like, Louisville's going to be amazing.
That's
so I chose Louisville. I don't remember. And then for LSU and Rice, I chose Rice because there's a freaking school called Rice. And that's amazing. Yeah.
It's in Texas.
Rice.
Yes, it's a Southwestern Conference originally school, but I picked LSU because LSU is the national champion, and that should count for something in the first round. It doesn't mean they're going to win. And then they're going to play Louisville and beat them.
Okay.
And Louisville, did you know that if you're pronouncing that correctly, the capital of Kentucky pronounced Louisville or Louisville?
It's French. So
is the capital of Kentucky pronounced Louisville or Louisville?
It's Louis because it's French.
No, the capital of Kentucky is actually Frankfurt.
Wait, Germany is also in Kentucky? Man, that's confusing.
No, it's Frankfurt, not Frankfurt.
Oh,
Frankfurt.
That's weird. Why'd they do that?
There's a fort named after Frank. Well, back to
Frankfurt. Okay.
Hey, you gotta ask Kentucky.
Okay. I'm gonna say Rice is gonna win that matchup because I'm obviously insane. For the final Albany 2 games, we have Creighton and UNLV. I chose UNLV because I want UCLA to beat California Baptist, and then we have two teams that are the University of somewhere going against each other.
UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles.
Yep.
The Bruins going against Cal Baptist. Is that what you were looking at?
Oh yeah. Is that what it is?
UCLA, the school Kareem Abdul-Jabbar went to, for instance. Yeah. So I've got UCLA beating them easily, and Creighton advancing against UNLV, and LSU taking on UCLA in the Sweet 16.
Okay. I'm saying UNLV is gonna go all the way. So that's my... And against Rice. So it's gonna be a game no one ever thought they would see.
Yeah, you're a game that will never happen. But,
for the next...
Riceism.
Portland 4 it's called. We're going Texas versus Drexel. Right? That is a D, yeah. Or is it Orexel?
It's Drexel.
It's definitely Drexel. I chose Drexel because it reminds me of a part with Dremel. It reminds me of the word Dremel from when you're doing woodworking, and that's the only reason I chose it.
My lord, are you just trying to be this?
I don't care about sports. You already know this about me. I have no.
Why are we doing this? If you're just gonna turn it into, I'm gonna pick cute names.
No,
a 16 seed.
It has always been. I'm just gonna pick whatever I feel like. It's always been that. Why are you surprised now? Okay. I did it yesterday too.
But none of them involved a 116. Well, actually, yeah, I guess one of them did. I guess, but these 116, they gotta stop. That's just not gonna happen, man. That's just not gonna happen. I'm not betting. Why do you care so much about my picks? Yes, because it's comedy, I guess. It's kind of...
I just picked whatever. Literally just circled names as quick as possible.
Yeah, you picked two schools to win one game, so that was good. So I got Texas, obviously, because... Good luck.
I don't need it because I don't care.
Did you do Alabama, Florida State?
I did Alabama for that one. And I have Alabama and Drexel going on. So.
Okay. And I've got Texas beating Florida State to advance to the Sweet 16. Where then they will play.
We have South Dakota and Utah. I chose South Dakota. And then Gonzaga and UC Irvine. And I chose UC Irvine. And they're also, UC Irvine's going to beat South Dakota and go the next round. Oh, sorry, wow. I was on the wrong camera.
I've got South Dakota State in a 12-5 upset because I'm going 12-5 in almost every bracket. So I got 12-5 South Dakota State, and I've got South Dakota State losing to Gonzaga, who will beat the UC Irvine Anteaters. That's right, they're the Anteaters. Pretty sure.
And who's winning that one?
And the Sweet 16 will be Texas and Gonzaga in the Sweet 16.
Okay. Next, we have the Tennessee and Green Bay. I'm going to go Green Bay because Wisconsin, that's it. And the same for Iowa State and Maryland. I'm going to go with Maryland.
Homer picks.
Yeah, home picks, and Maryland and Green Bay are going on to fight in the Sweet 16. There, that's my
What about the other games? We got Chattanooga, NC State, and we got Sanford and Norfolk State.
Okay.
I got Tennessee losing to Green Bay. Green Bay homer pick, and do you have NC State or Chattanooga? Which one?
Oh, I had Chattanooga. Sorry.
Okay, I have NC State now on, but then they're going to beat Green Bay because they stopped being a homer. I'd have Maryland beating Iowa State, kind of a homer pick there too. And Stanford, the number 2 seed, beating Norfolk State. And Maryland upsetting Stanford as we start getting some upsets in these second round games.
I also have Stanford and Maryland beating Stanford as well. So we shared that at least.
So yeah, I got Maryland, NC State in the Sweet 16.
I just want to see Green Bay versus Maryland, which is never going to happen. Next, we go over Portland 3. Southern California and A&M Corpus Christi. I decided to go yet again with the 16th seed.
Of course.
What does A&M stand for? But
agriculture and mining.
Okay, so they should be good at basketball.
It's perfect. Texas A&M Corpus Christi, actually, because the original Texas A&M is in College Station. This is a branch of that university, but apparently they're 4-year universities. So. Corpus Christi's a long way from College Station. Like big old Texas. Anyway.
Oh, you can't see me. I didn't realize because I put my paper over you.
Oh,
And
that's
for
all right. I'm
the
looking at my
Kansas
board
and
anyway.
Michigan, what did you choose? I'm guessing SoCal.
I got USC. Chalk.
And then Kansas, Michigan.
Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk. Right? The Kansas
Hey, I get it.
Jayhawks moving on to the next round. That's actually their, what do you want? Cheer. That's what they actually say. Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk. I have no idea what that means. Yeah.
Cool. I also have Kansas going on against A&M Corpus Christi, and then I think they're going to win. They're going to win. A&M Corpus Christi, the 16th seed, is going to wipe everyone
Oh,
out.
my Lord. Your brackets are just...
I literally just circled names I liked. I didn't look at them. I can't even see the numbers, I swear to you. The numbers are not on this. They're so light. Also, I printed this at 60% scale, so I can barely read it. You couldn't read this if you tried.
Well, I've got Kansas and USC advancing, and Kansas winning that matchup.
Okay. Then for the next part... we've been doing this so long, the music died. That's not good.
Aha. Okay. All right.
Baylor and Vanderbilt. I chose Vanderbilt because I chose them... because Dutch, I don't know. And for Virginia Tech and Marshall, I chose also Marshall. And then Vanderbilt's going to defeat Marshall.
I've got Baylor or Vanderbilt. And Baylor, which is a powerhouse team, by the way, one of those powerhouse women's programs. Baylor will be beating Virginia Tech because Virginia Tech's going to beat Marshall. And Baylor will be playing Kansas in the Sweet 16.
Then for Syracuse and Arizona, I chose Syracuse. And UConn and Jackson, I chose Jackson because I love Michael Jackson. I don't know. And Jackson's going to win through the power of pop and defeat Syracuse. Somehow, his ghost will save the day.
Right. Yeah, Jackson State is a historically black college, but they're not going to beat UConn. Not a chance.
They can't beat the Dogs.
It's another powerhouse program, UConn. It went like 5 years without losing.
And then what's your 16?
And I've got UConn beating Syracuse, naturally. Syracuse will beat Arizona. And our last little ditty.
Our last little ditty is Duke and Richmond. I chose Richmond. Because is it a crab or a spider? I don't know. And
Richmond Spiders.
Spiders. Yep. That's really rare. Most people don't choose insects, except for like hornets, I guess. And then I have Ohio State and Maine, and I literally didn't even know Maine had a basketball team, so obviously they're going to win. Because if they made it to the first round, they must be good.
They're a 15 seed.
Against Richmond, that's my... and it's going to be Richmond versus Jackson. Maine versus Jackson, because I don't even know these teams existed. This is my fantasy. Indeed, my fantasy.
Just to close, if you're picking a women's bracket, you probably just should pick the lower seed every single time, and you'll do pretty good. Because
I don't care about
traditionally,
winning.
Last year was you've already said that. Last year was the only time it wasn't like one seed. Last year, I think only one.
I'm manifesting a different reality, okay?
Oh, yeah. That'll have to do because the real reality ain't going to work for you. Duke over Richmond, and I've got Ohio State over Maine, and I've got Duke losing Ohio State. And Ohio State and UConn playing in the Sweet 16. So my matchups are 2 versus a 3, 8 versus a 5, a 2 versus a 3, a 1 versus a 4, a 1 versus a 4, a 6 versus a 10, a 1 versus a 4, and a 3 versus a 10. And you've got a bunch of 16s and 12s.
Yeah, 16 all the way. The higher the number, the better, right?
Yeah, that's how it works.
There you go. That's our selection for our women's March Madness bracket for the first and second round, since we won't be doing the show on Saturday or Sunday. So I hope you have a good weekend. trash me in the comments below, and we'll see you on Monday for the results of all these sports games that will be happening over the weekend. Take care out there.
That would be.
Do you want to say anything else?
No, trashing would be just cruelty at this point.
Nah, it's fine. I'm used to it. I like being trashed.
Okay.
Here's your mic drop moment.
At what point did Mr. Giuliani begin working directly with Russian agents and Russian assets, individuals who would later become sanctioned by Donald Trump's own Treasury Department for spreading propaganda and disinformation against Joe Biden?
It was sometime in probably around May, June of 2019.
Were you aware, was Mr. Giuliani aware that these people were basically just doing the bidding of Vladimir Putin?
Absolutely.
So he had no hesitation about spreading lies that were concocted by Russian agents?
As long as it fit the narrative, absolutely not.
How were you and Giuliani able to take these false allegations peddled by corrupt officials and Russian agents and promote and amplify them here in the United States, in our political system? Weren't media groups skeptical of your claims?
Most media groups, I'd probably say all except for Fox and a few other right-wing media groups, didn't want to take any of the information, and that aggravated Rudy Giuliani and John Solomon and other players. And the main group that was being pushed through was Fox, Sean Hannity and some other media personnel over there. But then there was also other people that were doing the bidding for the Russian people in Congress, like Senator Ron Johnson, like Congressman Pete Sessions that sits here right now, that was with me from the very beginning on this journey into digging dirt on Joe Biden.
Is Putin's war on Ukraine today, which has cost hundreds of thousands of people's lives, is that part of the vaunted Russia hoax?
Absolutely not.
Is it real?
Yes, absolutely.
I want to ask you a more personal question, if I might, Mr. Parnas, because in my several years living through this extraordinary period of American history, I've tried to ask people like Michael Cohen and Cassidy Hutchinson. I've wondered about people like General Milley, General Kelly. Why did you break with all of the deceit and corruption and lies of Donald Trump? How did you get out of that culture?
I mean, it was very difficult. I actually had to hit a brick wall myself and get arrested, and to be able to get out of that cult, because when you're in that cult, when you're around them, you have blinders on, and you're only able to see a certain amount of information. You're only able to hear the certain amount of information. You're not allowed to go out of the circle. And if you go outside of the circle, then you're not in the circle. So eventually, you brainwash yourself to believing certain things that are not true. When I was arrested and had some time to reflect and really understand what was going on, I started realizing, looking back and thinking back to moments in time where I started thinking myself that this can't be true and we're doing something wrong.
Be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notify buttons, and follow our other channels, Toxic Alley, History of Gravy, and Scratchy Old Records.